All right, to my guest, thank you so much for being on the show. How you doing? How you feeling?
I am well, a little apprehensive, but excited to be talking with you and this particular topic.
Why are you being apprehensive? We've been kikiing for like what 2 hours now.
We have, but at the same time, this is it's a little different, but nonetheless, I feel like I'm in good hands, so we'll have a great conversation.
Exactly. Now, before we begin, because we are going to touch on a topic that I have already discussed with a previous guest, um, and they brought this to my attention. I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think of this. So, what are your pronouns?
Well, I mean, it just depends on as my pronouns are as I appear to the world. So,
Mm-hmm.
in everyday life, it is he, him, dude. And when appearing as my other self, it's she, her, and chick.
And chick. Okay, perfect. Now, how did you hear about the episode? Like, did somebody send it to you, or did you?
No,
Okay.
no, and just trying to find information and listening to podcasts and typed in a search word and there it was. And you don't get a chance to hear Black people talking about this particular topic as it pertains to Black people. And
Mm-hmm.
so it immediately grabbed my attention, and I immediately started listening, popped in the AirPods and started listening.
Now, when you first listened to the episode titled "I Am a Black Crossdresser," what were your initial thoughts?
Hope, hope,
Mm,
hope that a story would be told that would not lend itself to stereotypes.
right. So, when you finished the episode, what were your thoughts?
I heard some good stuff, but
Uh
I
huh.
heard a lot of things that were not applicable to my situation and
Mm.
did not vibe with what things with my story. And so it forced it. I guess I would go so far as to say it forced me to contact you to say that's not that's a story. It's not the story.
Right. Now, listen, y'all. My guest, he sent me a whole thesis, and he had my full attention while I was in the meeting. I was like, "What was this?" And we were just going back and forth. Like it felt like we knew each other for a very long time.
It felt that way because I think, and that's a credit to you
Oh,
because of
thank
how
you.
you present yourself and you put people in a space and place where you're asking logical questions that aren't offensive. And so it makes somebody want to be able to say, hey, I appreciate the work that you did,
Hmm.
but there's something else that didn't get covered.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned in the email that my guest representation of black crossdressers doesn't capture the full picture. So, what aspects of crossdressing, particularly within the black community, do you feel are often overlooked or misunderstood?
So I'll go in the order it was presented. Overlooked is the fact that you can have people who are truly, truly, truly heterosexual and have this as a part of their personality or a part of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that's overlooked. It is not seeking sex from anybody, whether it's a man or a woman. It's not um, fodder for a porn site. It's not um, anything like that. It's a part of an identity, no more than somebody's left or right-handed. It's a part of an identity, and that's what I feel needed to be highlighted. And what I got from the initial interview was kind of I didn't really feel like that was the like that got accomplished, and so I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
wanted I just felt the need to reach out, and so um, yeah, that was that. And so you said that was the one thing, and then the other part of the question was
Or misunderstood?
misunderstood. And so I think that work those work hand in hand. And so
Yeah.
what I just said works hand in hand with being misunderstood, or somebody saying, "Oh, you must have been abused as a child." No, that's not my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone saying, "You must have been raised in an all female home." No, that's not my case. I would be I would have been classified as a jock,
Mm.
a big jock, um, back in the earlier facets of my life. So um, and nobody in my life would be able to say, "Oh, yeah, I always knew you were cross dressing." It's like hell, you do. No, you don't. You had no clue because
Mm.
you had no clue for two reasons. One, because I never told you, and two, and I know this is going to sound bad. I don't want it to sound sinister, but I know how to cover my tracks well enough that you would know.
Right, right.
So
Mm.
those are the things that I would want that I took from that, and so um, it was very. It came across no shame or no diss toward, and that's diss my age of myself, toward anybody who feels something else,
Right.
but it kind of came across as somewhat sexual, and that's not it, and it's no sexual connotation here. So that's what that was my intent for reaching out, and that's what I felt like people might not get if they listen to that. I felt like they would walk away saying, "Yeah, kind of what I thought," that type of thing, or somebody kind of coming away saying, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that's what I thought." They all kind of light in the ass to use a terminology or verbiage that might be a little bit condescending to some, but if you just kind of having a regular conversation with people, that's something that dudes might say to one another, and that's not it.
Right.
I've had a ton of physical fights, not glorifying or hyper sensationalizing fighting, but I'm just saying
You would knock
that
niggas out?
well, on their ass and fuck with them, but I mean, I don't come from that kind of thing where I was
Right.
this light and delicate. That's not it. I don't even present as that. Nobody would take me as light and delicate because
Mhm.
I don't. So I'm 6'7", so people don't think of me like that. They're like, "That's big ass
Right.
dude." And it's like, okay, there you go.
Right. Well, you also made a good point, which I agree with you, is when people think black cross dressers, they are automatically associated with homosexuality. So how do you navigate those misconceptions in your personal and social life?
So in my personal life, I mean, so I am married, so my,
Mm-hmm.
my spouse is abundantly clear. She knows that's not a problem in our household, and I don't want to say a problem because there's some people who have to suppress their life. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't want to use the
Right.
word problem. That's not a thing for me. That's not a thing in my life where I feel some sort of pull, sociological, psychological pull towards saying I'm suppressing, or pull toward homosexuality, pull up, feel like I'm not being my true self. I
Right.
absolutely don't have that issue. So yeah, it's not a sexual thing for me. It's a sense of enjoyment, but it's also a sense of paying homage. And so again, it's not sexual. It's a way for me to display and a part of my personality.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that we touched on is because when I was doing research for this conversation with my previous guest, I told you that I felt like when it came to the black cross dressers, it was very like sexual. But when it comes to the white cross dresser, it was like they just put on a dress, they looking pretty and keeping it moving. So why do you think that there is a difference between how both races are represented?
Because we live in a world that is um, contradictory. And so what I mean by that is this:
Mm,
black people are hypersexualized. In
facts.
on television, black people are
Men
hypersexualized in
and
their day-to-day
women.
lives, men and women. Well, that's
Yeah.
why I say
Yeah.
black men, black women, black trans men, black people.
Black
Everybody that falls
kids.
up on that, black kids are considered to be hypersexualized.
Right.
And so when you think of something that is not considered normal, it throws it into hyperspace where people say, "See, that's what it is." They just, that's how they think, that's how they function. That's
Mm-hmm.
not true. Now, here's the contradictory part. But as black folks, we don't talk about sex in the household. We don't even educate our children about sex. More
Facts.
black kids find out about sex through experimentation versus being
Mm-hmm.
told, "Hey, you have a body. There's nothing wrong with your body. Your body was a blessing from a higher power. This is how you share your body with somebody that you feel is special enough that they can receive that gift." But we don't talk about that. So then you have people that find out real life lessons by way of things that are unfortunate circumstances. And
Yeah.
so it's frustrating because people have this perception. And so if you go to the internet and if you typed in cross-dresser, then you would likely see they're automatically going to gravitate toward white, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
see explanations, thesis, essays. You find some people who are pro, you find some people who are con, but it gives you an explanation. Type in black crossdresser, and you are going to see some very some things that would
What you say they gonna
on
see?
they're going to see on the mild side is provocative. But it's all leading towards somebody saying, "Oh, let me show you a dick," and
Right,
it's
right.
like it's not about that. That you're not representing me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not representing me, and so that's no different than somebody saying, "Well, hey, somebody who does something that's wrong legally." Who happen to be black? Well, that's a representation of all black people. That's absolutely not true. So
Yeah.
when people show those images, I immediately say, "That's not me."
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like that. I don't function like that. That's not my life. That's not my story. And so people will try to put that on you, and that's not the case. So I think it's because we live in a contradictory world, and you don't find uh, you don't find somebody willing to give a logical explanation of what it even is, but they immediately jump to what's sinister, and I think that's that.
Remember that white man? He was like wearing heels and stuff, and like he'll put on like a skirt with a tuxedo shirt or something, and he was getting like deals.
Hmm.
Remember
Hmm.
that?
Sure,
And I
sure.
was just thinking to myself, like, wow, like they don't do that with black men.
Well, let me be candid with you. And Eddie Izzard, who is a British comic, or from the UK, whatever vernacular you prefer,
Mm-hmm.
has made a career out of it. And sometimes he does his stand up dressed as his male self. Sometimes he does his stand up dressed as his feminine persona, and nobody thinks anything of it. And he has lived a very good life. Now, on
Mm.
the flip side, you have black men who will be in dresses in on television or in movies,
Mm.
and that's essentially condemnation. Your career has been stereotyped, and there are people who say that if you do, you have to do that to cross over into the thresholds or into the glory realm of 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 media, and that
Yeah.
is sad that that is a benchmark. But I also think that's a way to try and take away the masculinity of black men, and so it's contradictory in the sense that somebody could say, well, what you do adds to that. And I would say no, because one, I'm not trying to appear on camera. Two, I'm not
Right.
trying to harm anybody. Three, I'm being my true self. If somebody does that to be a character, then that to me, yes, that does provide a sense of that does discredit somebody who is saying, "Hey, this is just how I am. I'm not doing anything that
Right.
is trying to be offensive. I'm not trying to be sexual. I'm not trying to be some. I'm not trying to degrade myself. I'm not trying to provide um,
This makes you happy.
commentary. It's something that makes me happy, and not only that,
Right.
it's something that's just in me. So no different than a person who says, "Hey, you know what? I just realized I've never been attracted to people of the opposite gender. I'm attracted to people of the same gender." And they
Mm-hmm.
say, "How long have you known that?" "Oh, I've been like this all my life." I don't argue with people who say that. I don't argue with people when they say it. When they say that, how am I going to tell somebody what they knew about themselves? That sounds absolutely stupid.
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact. So, do you think society's attitudes towards cross dressing will eventually evolve in the next couple of years? Because I feel like this shouldn't be taboo.
So here's the thing. Here's where I look at young kids now, and I just want to say, you know what? You all are some badasses because young kids now, whether they're straight, whether they're bisexual, whether they're or asexual or whatever. There's so many terms now, but they bond together and they say, "Hey, this." If somebody says, "I'm going to wear this," then they
Mm-hmm.
wear it. The younger kids see things as it's just clothes.
Yeah, I'm
Older people
expressing
see
myself.
things, I'm expressing myself, and then you would literally find them bond together and say, "I dare you to give this person a hard time. We will gang up on you," and then they will ostracize you on social media and make a person's life hell.
Mm.
People who are older don't have that because we grew up saying, "Hey, it was what it was. Things are what they are." And don't get me wrong, I have that part of my personality, but at the
Mm.
same time, I, I firmly believe everybody's an individual, so you should be able to have the bandwidth to be able to be your true self and do something that makes you happy. But everybody doesn't get that. So do I? So to give you a hard answer, will society change for the younger people? Yes, because they're not going to give you an option. Younger people now
Mm-hmm.
don't give you an option. They tell you this is what I'm doing, and if you don't
And
like
that's
that, then
that on
guess what?
that, right?
And that's that on that, and that's where I am. And if you don't like that, I tell you what, I will clown you for not giving me the opportunity to be who I am, and it will make you miserable. And older people don't get a chance to do that. When I say older, I'm not talking about elderly. I'm talking about people 35, 36, 37,
Yeah.
and beyond don't get a
Mm-hmm.
chance to do that because we were part of a different society that
Yeah, like we
said
had the best of
no.
both worlds.
Yeah, we do. But the thing about it is, we're more observers in this new world than we are
Yeah.
participants.
Mm-hmm. Now, how
So
long?
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
no, no, I was just no, just confirming the point.
So, how long have you been cross dressing?
35 years.
Wow. Does it feel like
Or,
35 years?
no, no, because it's like asking somebody. It's like saying asking somebody if they're black. Does it feel like you've been black 35
No,
years?
that's not a good point. Come on, don't do me like that.
No, 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 no. And I'm not doing that to clown you. I'm doing
Okay,
it saying
okay.
a
I'm about to say, come
comparison.
on now.
No, 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 no. I'm not clowning you. I'm just trying to show you. What I'm saying is, it's so natural that you don't think about it.
Okay.
That's the point. So when you say, does it feel like 35 years? Now, if you say, does it feel like it's been 35 years since did something stupid and messed up your
Right.
life, and somebody says, no, feels like it's been like 3,500 years. Well, yeah, because that's painful. This isn't
Yeah.
painful.
Because I'm not
So
gonna be like,
when
come on now.
you,
We didn't have a moment. I thought we was friends.
oh no, 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 we good, we good.
Right.
It's just that that's
But you
no.
make it.
So
That's a
it
good
doesn't.
point, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how does what's natural to you feel weird? You don't count it. You just go, okay, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, how were you introduced to it? Like, what were some of your early experiences?
Um, the first was I was preschool, and I saw something that my mother had, and I liked it, and I was like, there was no banned list of items that you liked or didn't like. It was just you saw something, and as a kid, you're curious and you grab it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, and so I got caught
Mm-hmm.
and was got swatted on the ass for it, and then that was that, and then age 11, I and then you're evolving, you're starting to find out who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because you're growing up, and I was saying, you know what, I want to wear this, and I made up my mind, and one night I got it and knew I was going to have time at home by myself because I'm an only child, and so I was like,
Oh, you're
all
only
right, I'm at home by
child.
myself.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I have cousins, got tons of cousins that are like siblings, but I'm an only child, and so I just made up my mind. I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear this,
Mm-hmm.
and I did, and then the thing was to, hey, don't fall asleep and get caught, and I did it, and I did not get caught, but that is when it was set in motion, and it in my mind it was okay to like something that was pretty, and it was okay to say, hey, why did and I think for those of us who have been given this characteristic or this character, I guess you'd call it characteristic or personality trait,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see it as something bad. It's something that allows you to be curious. And so, with that being the case, yeah, I did, and then from there, just kind of grew. And then whenever there was time or I could sneak a moment, I did. I would wear those things that I like to wear, and
Mm-hmm.
then that was that. And it was never anything racy. It was never suggestive. It was always very conservative. Everything was very conservative. Even now, everything for me is very conservative. It's about an image. It's about a picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being respectful. Everything is about being respectful, and it's all about trying to emulate women that I've always said are very respectful, who have like this pristine image,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really trying to emulate that, and that's what it grew into from being a little kid that said, that's really pretty. I'd like to wear that. Or, "Ooh, I like the way she's shaped, and I want to
Right.
emulate that." and then it was just, it was a domino effect, and that's where it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's one of the things that I really loved about your story, and I told you this off the air. Is like I feel like when I was reading, when we was getting to know each other via email, one of the things that stood out the most for me is that it felt like you was paying homage to Black women.
And nothing more beautiful in this world than a black woman.
That's
Nothing,
listen.
nothing. When I say black women, Lord have mercy. When I say I love me some black, I love them. Now, don't get me wrong. And I'm a bar line that comedian Earthquake used. He said God never created anything more beautiful on this earth than a black woman. But, I mean, than a woman. But when it comes to the most beautiful ones, they happen to be black.
That's a fact. Tell these
And,
niggas again in the back now. Ain't nothing more
oh
beautiful
my
than a Black woman.
Lord have mercy. Oh, when I, oh Jesus. Oh Lord have mercy. Sisters just, it just, you can't tell. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some sisters that do some stuff where you go, "What is on your mind?" But I mean, as a whole, oh my gosh, sisters is it. I mean, it's just, it's the swag, it's the sincerity, it's the appearance, it's the skin tones, it's the difference, the different look. I mean, just black women are just amazing.
I
Black
agree.
women just flat out amazing. And if somebody don't think that, you know what? You entitled to your own opinion, but that ain't mine. That ain't
Right.
mine. That somebody saying that black women ain't it, I'm like, you're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree like hell.
I know that's real. Now, when you cross dress, what does it feel like? Because I feel like when we were speaking, it feels like it's just like this euphoric feeling.
It's euphoric, but let me explain the euphoria. The euphoria is that you get to go be a part of your personality
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't. It's like it's almost like, and Native American people sometimes refer to use a term called two spirited.
Mm.
I think that's there's some connectivity there where you a person can say, hey, I have another person that I am, and I need to address that person,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't shut that person out. So I think that would be the way that I would describe it, is that I get to acknowledge another person, or and I know somebody can say, oh, you have suffered from multiple personality disorder. I do not. I know
Mm.
exactly
I
who
think
I
that's a
am. That's
misconception too.
Oh, it totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly who I am. It's just that it's just like saying, "Hey, this is what I get to go do." It's like, when somebody says you could take somebody who's a professional athlete, and it's like, well, what's it like when you get to play ball? It's what I do. It's part of who I am. That's what it's something that I'm good at. Well, this is something that I am.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that if you have a great, or you have a athletic career that allows you to play in college, everybody raise your hand who did that. That would be me.
Mm-hmm.
So you have when you have that opportunity, then there's something in you that allows you to say, "Hey, I can do this a little bit better," and I think it's part of who you are as a person.
Right.
I think this is a lot like that. So it's like when you ask, "What now?" Is it, if you ask a professional ball player, even a college ball player, and say, "Is that all that you are?" Hopefully, they will say, "Absolutely not. It's a part of who I am, but it's not all that I am." So that's
Facts.
I would liken it to that.
Now, how important is it for you to be passable?
In your youth, you worry about things like that because you're saying, "Well, I
Mm.
got to do this and I got to do that," and then there is a website that is run, or I guess it belongs to um, a person that is a cross dresser, and that has a section about passability. And it says, "Look, at the end of the day, you and them big ass hands and you and the big ass feet.
Like we here
That
now.
that it's like." And now here's the thing: you are not you might be able, in passing, as you are like passing, meaning walking past somebody, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody drives past you, they might, if you really know what you're doing, then somebody could go, "Oh, I didn't notice that, I didn't pick up on that." Now if somebody were to stop, or you're walking past somebody and somebody says, "You got some big ass feet, or you got big ass hands," that might be a telltale sign. Or if somebody says, "I think I see an Adam's apple," if you don't have on turtleneck or something like that. I mean, hey, you can't do anything about that. But I think so. I say that to say that it gets to the point where you have to be respectable. Are you respecting the gender?
Yeah.
Are you being? There are
That's
some
what I
people who are
said.
Yeah, there are some people who are staunch advocates, and they say no. The fact that you do that means you are disrespecting the gender. And now I think that that's only true if you're showing body parts and you're being trying to be provocative, or you're trying to you're doing it from with sexual connotations and with the end result being sex. Then I do think that that's disrespectful. But if you're
Right.
doing it because you're saying no, it's something that I feel, I'm passionate about it, and I do it to show I do, and the people that I emulate, the ladies that I emulate, are women who I honestly say, I look up to. So in my as my male self, I'm opening doors. I'm opening. I'm letting them go first. I'm saying, ma'am, I am being courteous. I'm pulling out chairs. I'm doing all of that.
Right.
But I do that because number one, I have a tremendous respect for women, all women, but again, my favorite black. But at the same time, trying to pay you want to pay homage to that person. So it's like a person who says, "Hey, my favorite basketball player was Michael Jordan, and I only wear Jordans when I hoop." Well,
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing that? Because Jordan my dude. I'm a Jordan guy. I've
Right.
been
If it
rocking
works
with
for
Jordan
him, it
since he
works
was
for
in
me.
Carolina.
Right.
Right, because that's my dude. Okay, so it's the same thing. And somebody
Right.
can say, no, there's no connectivity. And I would say, then we can agree to disagree, but that's exactly what it is. I'm paying homage to those who say, who those that I saw that I said, oh my gosh, that is just like the epitome of a woman. I'm trying to say, you know what? I'm trying to copy you. So
But
that's
I
all.
also feel like if I didn't took all this time and I didn't got pretty and put on a damn dress, you're gonna address me as such.
Thank you.
I think that is so
Thank
rude,
you.
and that is something that I mentioned in the previous conversation with my last guest. Like, if the person is presenting themselves in a certain way, be respectful.
Whether you understand it or not. Or you can even be respectful by not saying anything. Don't use a
Anything.
pronoun. Don't say something that you know is derogatory. I'm a firm believer. I believe this. You can have people who don't like one another, and they can show
Mm-hmm.
respect. They could be ready. If it doesn't take but a word, and they could be at odds. They could be fighting. They could be scrapping.
Right.
They could be cussing one another out. But not saying anything is as respectful as it is to say yes, no, no, thank you,
Right.
excuse me, I apologize, pardon me. It's just as respectful. You can be respectful by not saying anything. And so, to your point, if you see somebody that is dressed and they're trying to emulate something, don't go and say the opposite.
Yeah. Because you're
Don't
gonna fuck around and get your
now.
ass whooped.
Well, you see now you're being an ass, but now I ain't fighting in no dress. But I tell you what, look. You already know I write a hell of a letter though, and I read name tags. So I'm gonna call your ass out.
Right, right, right. Has your relationship with cross dressing changed as you age?
Yes.
In what
Um,
ways?
the time the
Mm.
times that I get to do it are more special. When I was younger, and that's becoming that's maturity. When you're immature and younger, you don't appreciate time. You don't think about the value of 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about the value of 1,440 minutes, which is a day. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
Then you get to the point where you start saying, okay, wait a minute. Hey, I got 20 minutes to spend with so and so who needs to be mentored professionally.
Mm.
I got 20 minutes to talk to so and so who needs to be mentored as they grow as a person.
Right.
And then you start figuring out, okay, what how much time do I have? And so I say that to say that yeah, those I appreciate it as I get older because I don't have time. I don't have time to do a lot. I really
Yeah.
don't. I got a busy schedule, and I'm not saying that to be braggadocious. That's not what I'm saying. But like all people, I don't care what your job is. You don't have a lot of time to do the things that you want to
That's a
do. So
fact.
when you get a chance to do it, hey, it means something. So I think that's the biggest difference. And then wanting to put respect behind it, so that even I would love to be able, if I were ever given the opportunity to talk to a younger person who says, "Hey, I've been sitting on this part of my personality for years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm kind of strange, or I feel guilty." And I think
Yeah.
people get to some point more guilt, not strange, because I don't think people. I think they quickly get out of the strange part because there's enough things that you can find to let you know, hey, I'm not strange. But if they say, hey, I feel um, guilty because I can't shut it off, and
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them, you're not going to shut it off. You can't. You're
Yeah.
not going to shut it off. It doesn't work like that. No more than a person can say, hey, you could teach yourself. I was going to say being left-handed or right-handed. You could teach yourself how to be ambidextrous.
Mhm.
You can, but at the same time, you're in your moment of truth. You're going to go to your dominant hand. And so,
Mm.
in your moment of truth, when you have to talk to yourself and you say, hey, I don't do that anymore, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, but I know that I really want to. So I'm lying to myself now.
Right. Right. Have your perspectives on masculinity and femininity changed since you started cross dressing? And if so, how do
Mm,
you now define those concepts in your own life?
uh, okay. So have they changed? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's slightly. And here's what I mean by this.
Because I feel like you have such a like you hold women, especially black women, to such a high
Sure,
regard. So the
sure.
fact that you pay this homage to them and you dress like them, like I feel like in some type of way you're tapping into your feminine side, right?
I guess yeah. I guess I'd have to the answer to that question would have to just be an outright yes.
Mm-hmm.
But has it changed? I guess I never thought. Here's what, and this is going to sound crazy. When I was a kid, I was watching the fastest girl in our school was racing the fastest guy, and she dusted his ass. That was the day where I was like, girls can do whatever the hell they want to do if they
Mm.
really want to put their mind to it. And from that point on, I was like, you know what? So having a student body president that was a lady or a young lady didn't bother me. Having a principal, high school principal, which I did. That was a lady that didn't bother me because
Right.
it was the same. It was simply saying, hey, you can do that. When you see politicians, shout out to what's going on politically now nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
When you see politicians, you say, no, 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 no. That's a good person for the job. That's the
Right.
right person for the job, or at least from my perspective. So I never thought that women couldn't do anything. I
Mm-hmm.
think that what I wish I could see more is that more of our young, especially our young ladies, embraced being lady. What we call OM people. I'm not. I guess I have to call myself old school, but what we call ladylike, and
Ladylike, yeah.
truly exhibiting what's ladylike, and not having to take on that persona. But now, if I can be fair, a lot of dads and a lot of dudes did not do what
Yeah.
they needed to do to put women in a position where they could be ladylike. So they had to say, "Hey, I got to do everything," and for that, I tip my hat and I pay respect.
Yeah.
But I think that's in terms of femininity. That's what I think about. In terms of masculinity, I think more dudes. Dudes, us dudes, whether you cross dress or not, we catch a lot of hell. But as dudes, it's kind of like they teach you, through athletics and through some other things that you can be a part of in life. Be silent as you endure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take that on as men, and so we catch a lot of hell. And I think that you see that now when you hear about brothers and guys as well. And I
Yeah.
don't want to limit it to black people, but when you hear about guys being suicidal and taking their lives,
Yeah.
I think that's people. That's when you have men that are saying, "Hey, man, enough is enough. I'm like a powder keg over here. Please do not strike a match." And so I
Mm.
say that to say that I think that more men need to be able to talk to their boys and say, "God, man, hey, I love you, man. Anything you need, holler at your boy. Let me know. I'm here for you." Or just being able to say, um, "Hey, man, I'm hurt. Whether I'm hurt because I didn't get a promotion. I'm hurt because
Yeah.
I
Just
haven't
to just
accomplished
be
some things in
vulnerable and
life."
just to be right.
We don't get a chance to be that. And so I think that that's when you say, "How about would I change some things in regard to masculinity?" Yes, I would change that to say, women don't look down on men that are trying to express their vulnerability. Now, there is a fine line because you can get downright bitchy, and no
And I
woman
can't
wants you
stand
to
no
be dealing with
complaining
that.
ass nigga child.
No, or as they call them, what they call them, sassy. And I was like, oh hell no. I had somebody, they said, oh, he's sassy. I was like, what the fuck did you just say? He's like, he's sassy. And I was like, that shit fits. And so I don't. So it's a fine line, but at the same time, I think men get stronger if they're able to purge. And what I mean by that is, if you are carrying a heavy ass load, you can't carry
Yeah.
but so much weight, and then
Facts.
you're gonna fall. But if you take some of that weight off, you're not saying that you're getting rid of all the weight, but if you're able to ditch some of that shit to the side and say, I've put that to the side. Now I can take a little more, but I put some of that for everything that I pick up. I put a few things down. I don't fall down. Now, I might be
Yeah.
heavy. That's just life. I can't do nothing about that. But it is
Right.
not to the point where you're going to fall over. And I think that if that could change for men, then I would love to see that change.
Cause I can't take no nigga complaining every single day. It's like, what
Nah, nah,
now?
nah, 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 nah. It can't be
What
that.
is the
It can't. I mean, I
problem?
just I just don't think that it can be that. I think that we
That's for
are
nigga
made in
and
an
women. Like I
image.
just can't. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I was like, look, if you don't like it, do something about it. Shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Like, listen, it's hard for all of us. So like just
Yeah,
you
I mean
gotta do what you gotta
that's life.
do. Yeah.
That's life. That's life.
Now speaking of friends, does your family and friends know about this? About you cross dressing? And if so, what were
No,
their responses? No?
nobody knows except for I felt like I needed to be cool and clear with my wife and say, hey, sweetheart, this is something that's a part of me. And
Mm-hmm.
after having some conversations, it was like, okay, I got it. I understand. I understand that that's you. I don't know. I don't understand where it came from.
Yeah.
And that's a fair statement to make because I can't give a definitive explanation of where it came from. Because if I knew, I would love to be able to say, okay, I know where this. I don't. I really don't.
Mm.
But that's
And
it.
have you ever seen a man in a cross dresser before when you was a kid?
That is no, I haven't. And I'll be honest with you. And this is really crazy. And I've never seen one in person.
You never seen one in person?
Nope. Never.
Wow.
Never. Never. If it weren't for television shows and like and old talk shows or hell, the internet, that's the thing that I think is one of the most painful things is you go through this for a long time, especially when you're not in
Yeah.
that part where you're saying, "Yeah, I'm the only person in the world."
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
you think about what happens with us and how we are as a people, and you say, "Oh man, there's no black folks that do this. There's no brothers that do this," and it's like, man, that's a lie.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go down that rabbit hole, because I have questions about that, what is your advice that you would give to others in similar situations who might be struggling with how to communicate their identity with their partners?
Be candid, but at the same time, you can do it. And here's the thing: I don't think, and there's some people who subscribe to the belief that you say it's no different than somebody sitting down saying, "Hey, my name is Joe. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Christian. I went to school at the University of Southern California, and I'm cross-dresser." I would not do that. There are some people who say just
Yeah.
smack them in the mouth with it. I think that's a lot. I think that if you have conversations with people and then you start talking about likes and dislikes, I think that there's a way to be subtle, but at the
Yeah.
same time start dropping little nuggets.
Like you got to be
Uh,
able to read
it,
the room.
you got to be able to read the room, and because if you hit somebody, it's no different than somebody hitting you with some really um, game changing information up front. You like, damn, can you provide a little bit of a cushion because I wasn't ready for that shit, So you got to
Yeah.
prepare me. And so I think it's you kind of lead people to it gradually, or lead if it's a guy talking to a young lady, lead it to it gradually. And you can talk about likes and dislikes. It's like if a young lady says, "Oh, I watch Project Runway," you say, "Oh, for real? Oh yeah, check that out. That's dope." And I think that this is one of the easiest ways to do this is you start this Project Runway is nothing but a critique. It's 2 hours of critique, and you can start
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, that's ugly as hell. Oh, that shit, they ain't gonna win that.
Right, right,
Nah,
right.
you ain't gonna cut it. You cut that shit all wrong." And then what happens is a woman will go, "How do you know that?"
Right.
And then you can say, "Oh, well, hey, I'm a fan. And a fan of what? A fan of clothes." And
Mm-hmm.
then that you can slowly but surely kind of start to walk your way into a conversation. I think you can do that. I think you can go to places where you have to give or put people in, whether you reading a book, you go to a show, you watch a television show, a
Mm-hmm.
movie or something like that, and you can kind of talk about things and put people in the position where they ask you questions.
Yeah.
And then if they ask you questions, then it invokes a response. And then somebody can start, you can kind of gauge from people's body language, hey,
Mhm.
you know when somebody's uncomfortable. You know when you said something that might have set somebody back, but then you also know if somebody took some information, they go, oh, okay, now we can take the next step. And then you can kind of just go through it that way. And so I think that helps.
Mhm.
But just to smack somebody in the face with it,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the route to take because you, I mean, be gradual. I mean, and I always say flip it around and say, okay, now how would I want somebody to hit me with that? That's like
Right.
if somebody turned around and told you, you know what, hey, check this out. I used to, I used to be whatever, or I used to do whatever, or
Mhm.
you can say, damn, really? Yeah, check please. I'm out. No, don't worry about it. The meal's on me. I'm out of here.
Right.
Give people an opportunity to adapt to a situation and gauge how they're responding to you, and then
But
go
don't
from there.
force their hand.
No, that I don't think that's fair because you wouldn't want your
Yeah.
hand forced.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, being that you haven't seen a cross dresser in person in damn near 35 years, how do you navigate the balance between wanting to be visible but also maintaining your privacy?
Um, you learn a lot of things. You learn to be very, very observant. Like I pride myself in noticing things that other people do not notice. Um,
Mm.
and, and and so you clearly realize, I, for me, if you're trying to say, if you have a need to say, hey, I need to get out of these four walls of this house or this apartment or whatever, then you got to be really observant. You have to be able to say, okay, well, if you want to be out but you don't want to be seen, then okay, here's the thing: back to school, Christmas, terrible times to go out the stores dressed
Right.
because you're going to be seen. Um, you pick up on when daylight savings is. You say, hey, if it gets dark around 5:30, then you can say, hey, that's some time for me to be someplace. Now, there are people who would say the opposite. They say, do not go out at night because you can put yourself in harm's way. Now, I'm not saying go walk down a dark alley. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, you want to be someplace
Right.
that's well lit, but you want to be someplace that's well lit, but at the same time, there are not a lot of people. So you can pick and choose your moments. Don't go walk through the park at 8 o'clock and say, oh, I'm expressing myself. No, you're
Right.
setting yourself up for potential harm. And then the other thing about it, you got to be careful because you also, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, you got people who have a certain mindset, and you don't. It would be bad for somebody to say, "Oh, you're soliciting," and
Mm.
they think, "Oh, wait a minute, you're doing something sinister." No, 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 I'm not doing anything sinister. Now that has
I'm just
not
trying to
happened
have a
to me.
good time. Mind my business.
I'm just trying to have a good time, mind my business, and walk a couple blocks. But
Right.
yeah, but you got. I mean, don't go in the park at night and say, "Oh, I'm just sitting here." No, you look suspicious. You look like you're up to no good. But you can figure things out. You can figure out places. You can figure out certain places to go, certain times that places are open.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, it's the back end of the day. Okay, well, hey, if they close at 10, you know, depending on what kind of establishment it is, hey, 8 to 10 or downtimes. You can go
But
and
do you
say,
feel
okay,
free?
I need to be out. Partially, it's a
Yeah.
challenge. It's a challenge because and it's a challenge because you still
I feel like you're still
I
isolating yourself.
you are isolating yourself, and so that's one of the things you got to. This is where you gotta say, it's like if somebody wants to gamble, you got to know, okay, well, how much do I gamble a little bit or do I
Mm-hmm.
gamble a lot? You gamble a little bit and you say, hey, I don't get a chance to do everything that I'd like to do, but hey, if I like to play a little, blackjack, or I like to play a little roulette, I'm setting aside this amount to be able to say, and if this is all I can wager, then that's all I can wager. Now, if you throw caution to the wind, or you have a certain type of career, or you live a life that says I do what the hell I want, then you can. It's not a gamble. You do what you want. So even if you are spotted by somebody, or some people call it, if you're clocked by somebody, it doesn't matter to you. So you have more to proverbially gamble. But
Right.
is it free? No, it's not because you can't. No, because you have to make sacrifices, but you find time to fit it in where you can fit it in.
Right. But because of the isolation, has this impacted your mental health?
Um, it's a lonely. It can be a lonely existence. So has it impacted my mental health? I would say no, but it is a lonely existence because again, you don't. It's not like somebody, you can say, hey, I'm going to hoop today at 2, from 2 to 5. Can you go? Oh, I can go. Okay, bet. I'll meet you at the
Right.
park, or I'll meet you at the gym, or I'm going to work out today. Can you go? Yeah, I can go. It's not, you don't have that. So it is a very lonely existence. And especially if you don't have someone in your life who can say, oh, okay, hey, you make an agreement with them, and they say, hey, you know, from 3 to 6, you can dress as your other self. Oh, okay, cool. And I'll be here, and we that's your agreement, and so
Yeah.
fine. Then that's helpful, because I think that you're a person who could have a situation like that, can say, hey, I got the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
because I get a chance to do what I like to do, but I do it within reason. And I think we all make deals in life. You make deals to say, hey, I can have 3 hours on Saturday. Okay, cool. I'll take 3 hours on Saturday.
Yeah.
But that's not my story. So yeah, I think I often think that it's a lonely existence, but I'd rather be lonely in my truth
Mm.
than to be around a lot of people and live a complete and total lie.
That's a fact. That was a bar right there. But because it's so it can be lonely at times. Have you ever tried to fight it?
I have. And there is a common term, and anybody that's cross dresser, and if they've been if it's been a part of their life for a while, has done something what's called purging. That's where you take
Mhm.
all your shit and throw it away. You say, I'm never doing this again. I pray to the good Lord. Lord, take this from me. I don't want to do this. Please and thank you. Thank you very much. I am done. And you might make it a month. You might make it a year. You
Yeah.
might make it 2 years. It's gonna call you back. And when it calls you back, it ain't gonna be gentle. It's gonna be soul stirring, where you're gonna say, okay,
Mm.
I've got I need some time. I need some time to spend where I can indulge in this space. And yeah, and that call is not is rough. It's rough because
I can
you then have
imagine.
to say, oh yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal, and so you have times that you say, no, I need to do this, and you have to make time for it. And so um, yeah, yeah. I've done that, and I think I've had 3 or 4 purges,
Mm.
and you don't forget. I can tell you, I can measure it as 4, because I can tell you every place, every dumpster I took my stuff to.
Wow.
Yeah,
Was
and
there
I can tell
one was
everyone,
there one particular purge that was like painful for you?
all of them. They all sting. They all sting, because and imagine if a person wears sneakerhead, and they said,
Yeah.
look, I love sneakers. This is what I do. And then
Mhm.
they got to a point, let's say that they were been collecting sneakers since they were 18, 19 years old. And then they get to 35, and they feel like, well, this is silly. I don't know why I do this. This doesn't make sense to have all these sneakers. It's just stupid. I should get rid of them. And then they say, I'm just going to sell them, or I'm just going to give them away, or I'm just going to donate them. And then they look up and they see and they realize, you know what? I was really passionate about my sneakers.
Yeah.
My sneakers meant something to me. And then you realize you gave away some pairs that you can't even get anymore. And
Yeah.
that's when it sets in, and you go, I'm starting to lose things that are near and dear to me. And I can't
Yeah.
find it. I can't find this anymore. This isn't made, this manufacturer, this store doesn't make this anymore. I had one of the last ones. Yeah, it doesn't come in this color anymore. Yeah, it's painful. It's things.
Damn, I can't even imagine. Because if I'm throwing away something that's my favorite, something that I cherish, like that, I would be crying.
Yeah, exactly. And now, I mean, I've never cried, but I have had some
It's just
moments where I was just
painful.
like, it is sting. It really, really stings. Yeah, it stings. That's the only I know to say it.
Yeah. Now I know you mentioned that you haven't seen a cross dresser in person, but do you connect with anybody online from the community?
I have, I have,
Okay.
and so it's been interesting, because I've met some really cool people. And the thing about it is, and this is one of I've met people from all walks of life.
Right.
I've met doctors, attorneys, engineers, teachers, professors at universities, a person who's a television reporter. A matter of fact, crazy part about it, I grew grew up in the South. The person is a television reporter for, and I've seen this person. I've traveled to this particular city and have seen this person on television, and
Mm.
you would never know. And that's the thing, you don't know. You literally don't know.
But do you think you can
But you
spot them out though?
spot them out. You mean in terms of what?
Like, do you think you can spot out another cross dresser? Like,
Absolutely not.
mm,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nope. Sure can't. Because and the thing of now, and if you're leaving trails, then
right, okay.
I might have an inclination.
If you
But
dropping clues and
just to
stuff.
say, yeah, if you're dropping clues, then I'll catch on. I'll catch on. But if you can mask it like most of us masters can, you wouldn't have a clue.
Mm.
You wouldn't have a clue. And I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think I'm willing to bet you a crisp bill, a C
Mm.
note that brothers probably hide it the best.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, for sure, for
Mm.
sure. Because we have to be a bunch of things. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We got to be strong. We got to be upstanding. We got to be this. We got to be hard. We the same people that's bobbing our heads. They can recite damn near every song from every hit Jay Z ever made, every hit Biggie
That's a
ever made,
fact. You know, niggas love
every hit
Jay.
every hit Killer Mike ever made, every hit Ti ever made, every hit that came from
yeah.
Outkast, can recite them all, live it, walk it, do it, but happen to have this little part of their personality that you would never know about, can hide it like nobody's business.
Yeah. Wow. So that's why I wanted to do this conversation with you and also just do the men series because I just want black men to just feel comfortable and just be. And I think that because of so many different factors, including our own people, we make it very hard for black men just to be a man, just to be wherever he want to be in that moment. And I think that's very unfortunate.
Well, yeah, because I think that, and I appreciate you saying. First and foremost, let me do. I appreciate you saying what you just said, and I'll add to that by saying because we have to be so many things, and then the media portrays us as
Yeah.
being something, and then you have some sisters who say things that aren't the best. And then let's be honest, then you got some brothers that actually it's like you brought that shit to life because you're doing everything that they said. So you're
Yeah.
not helping those that are trying to say, hey, let me be all the things that I need to be and then some. But we don't, and it doesn't allow for flexibility. It's a very rigid. Let me say this: a good black man, or they call a BMW, a black man, a good black man working a GBMW
A
is
good
has a
black man.
very a good black man working has a very rigid expectation. It doesn't have
Yeah.
any flexibility. It is expected you should be this. It is cookie cutter as hell,
Yeah.
and it doesn't allow room for brothers to breathe. And so I think that being under that, it's like it's a science experiment that if you put a magnifying glass, how does it go? You put a magnifying glass on something and basically will fry it because it gets so hot. That's what it's like to have that
Yeah.
magnifying glass on you and sitting up under this proverbial sun,
And
and
you
you
just
are
cooking.
just getting damn cooked.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, but hey, and you can't say anything that's considered to be outside the norm, or else the labels and the tags start coming. And then it's like, well, hey, I might as well shut up. And so you look around and it's like, well, damn, I really can't say anything. And the crazy part about it is that studies actually show that the older men start to talk less. So imagine if you've already been told, be silent, be
Mhm.
strong, walk
Yeah.
upright, do this, which are all things I got no problem with that. Again, I'm not trying to be bitchy, but I'm just saying you can do all these things, and then you start to get to facets of your life where you stop. It's natural to stop communicating verbally as much. So now you have gone through life with all this stuff on your shoulders. So going back to metaphorically what I was saying before, if you keep taking on burden and taking on weight and taking on weight and taking on weight, and you don't shed or have a place to talk about the things that you're carrying, you walk
Yeah.
right in the ground. And so that's why I think you see a lot of black men physically. I mean, look at the mortality rates for black men.
Yeah.
I think the average black man is supposed to live like 70 to 72. Average white man gets to be in his 80s.
Yeah. Damn near 90.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yeah.
You make a good point. I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like I have an older person in my life that I just recently met,
Mhm.
and this older person doesn't know that I know that they are gay,
Mhm.
and where this person is from, being that he's an older black man,
Mhm.
how men can be now with their sexuality, that was an absolute no when this
Sure.
person was growing up. And
Sure.
I'll call this person and check up on him, make sure they're good and stuff. And it just pains me that, like, I know that he's masking,
Right.
like, because I know what masking feels like. And I
Mhm.
just sometimes I think of him when I have conversations with men like yourself, or just men in general, and it's just like, damn, like, it really sucks when you just cannot be yourself.
Sure. Sure.
And it
It,
makes me sad.
it is sad because what it now becomes very likely that this person who you obviously have a fondness for
Right.
will will leave this earth not having been his true self, and which ultimately makes
Right.
that person unhappy.
Right. And as I speak more and more to him, I can hear him getting sicker and stuff. And I'm just like, and I'm pretty sure that some of that has to do with his old age. But it's just like,
Sure.
damn, like, I just want you to be able to just fully be able to be yourself when you feel like, at all times, you know?
But the sad part about that is that the best years that that person would have had to be his true self, let's be honest, are gone.
Yeah.
And it's not, not being morbid. It's just saying, hey, if
It
you're
is
saying
what
this
it
person is
is.
older and they're
Yeah.
getting sicker, then your best years to be your true self
You
are
got
gone.
your best years are behind you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got more stories to tell about a life about a false life than you do stories about your truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with that being said, what advice would you give to younger black men who are just beginning to explore cross dressing?
Yeah, be be honest, be
Yeah.
respectful, be respectful of yourself, of your race, of your women, of of the concept of women. Um,
Mm.
be safe. Be mindful of where you go and
Yeah.
what you're doing and who you share this with. You cannot tell everybody. And somebody can say, "Well, look at what you're doing." And it's like, yeah, but I got some things in place that allow people not to know
Yeah.
who I am to a T. Do you know things about my personality? Yes. By way of this discussion, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's gonna walk up to me and be like, "It was you," and I'm like,
Oh,
"No,"
no,
because
no. Listen, we had a
we've had this
nice,
conversation.
thorough conversation.
Yeah, so we had a conversation. No, you don't. So but and that being said, there was and if I could be candid and be truthful to kind of give everybody some insight about the person leading this conversation.
Oh,
You're talking about an amazing lady who said, "You know what? I'm trying to find out something about my people, and I'm
yeah.
trying to expose my people to a greater portion of us and things and topics that we don't get to talk about." So I say that to say that there was no way that I was going to share this and be candid with somebody who was not going to take my situation into consideration and say, "Hey, I'm going to put this in a perspective and in a way that it will keep you safe, but at the same time, together we can get some information to people that lets them know what that there is a strong level of normalcy in this,
Yeah.
and there's no nothing sinister. This is not some. I don't even when people say, "Oh, you have like if somebody were to say you have an alternative lifestyle," I don't.
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't even know. And then I think the bigger question to be asked is, well, what exactly is that? Because you could be putting some people who live very normal, and in a bucket that they would say, I don't think that's appropriate or applicable because my life is not. We all have alternatives. We have an alternative to be a bunch of stuff, So every if that's the case, then everybody truly lives an alternative lifestyle because you have an
Yeah.
alternative to do something opposite of what you do.
Yeah.
It's just that you
Facts.
choose not to do it. So if you take words, words mean what words mean. We try to
Right.
bend them and make them mean something else, but at the end of the day, words mean
It's
what
what
they
it
mean.
means. Right.
So if that's the case, then some people need to go back and do some self checking. But getting back to the point, you've got this amazing young lady who said, "Hey, I want to talk about some things that are relevant to people and whenever when and wherever possible relevant to my people." and
Mhm.
get people's minds open. And so that is why I felt comfortable enough to have this conversation with this young lady that's talking with me. And so she's amazing. And quite honestly, if she weren't, then I would say, you know what, let me just shut up and keep my little story to myself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you because I told you off the air that initially when I was doing research on this topic, your story was something that I was looking forward to because I felt like more men can probably relate to it because of the stigma that comes with it. And when we was going back and forth for emails, I'm like, damn, I feel like I've been knowing this man for like a long time because it just felt so casual. And I am thankful for my previous guests because I do feel like even though
Sure.
it's the same storyline, it can happen in different ways. So I like the fact that you did email me and you want to share your perspective because I believe that people can be able to relate to both. So I really appreciate you for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the previous guest, there's no shade that's being thrown or anything like that. It's just I wanted to be able to say that the topic is there's so little on the topic. I wouldn't want somebody to listen to that particular episode of your
Yeah.
show and say, "Oh yeah, that's what I thought."
Yeah.
It's because it's not that, and I think that and so to the greatest extent to say I don't want to use the word normalcy because that particular individual's life is normal. That's their normal experience
Absolutely.
with this particular concept. But from a more, I know the word that I'll use, from a more conservative perspective, it
Mhm.
does exist. And so um, that level of conservativeness does exist. And there are people who say, hey, this is not something that I flaunt to everybody, but it is something that I have to do to make me feel whole. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, it's a different perspective, but it's a more conservative perspective.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. And last but not least, what would you have wanted to hear when you were younger?
That I wasn't by myself.
Mm.
That I wasn't by myself. I would have. I think it's interesting you asked that question. I think about that with some sort of regularity and say
Mm.
how, or ask the question, how helpful would it have been to be able to have somebody that I could say, hey, can I tell you something? Hey, uh, hey, me, I like to do that too. And I mean, somebody that now, not a peer, but
Yeah.
somebody that could have been older, somebody who could have said, hey,
Like a
okay, well,
mentor,
a
an
mentor
OG.
to somebody
Yeah.
to say, hey, well, when you want to talk about that, then we can talk about that. That way, I don't go through this um, psychological roller coaster where I'm saying, oh,
Yeah.
it's okay, no, it's not okay. Oh, it's okay, no, it's not okay. Oh, it's not. And then you go through that, and then you have to, and prayerfully, I hope that people get to the point where they realize they can end up on a high and say, hey, it is okay. And
Yeah.
there's no pitfall as long as you're not doing anything that puts you in harm's way. It's now you have to figure out how to navigate your way through that quote unquote it's okay
Mhm.
portion of whatever you deem is okay or however you deem it to be okay. But it's one of those things you gotta have to figure out because it can be it's rough. And I by the grace of God, there go I to be able to get to this point and say, all right,
Yeah.
I got this thing figured out. Are there more things I'd like to do? Sure, there are.
Mhm.
Are there experiences that I'd like to have? Absolutely. Would it be cool if I could say, hey, I could go to a mall, if you will, and just have a day where I shop and say, hey, I was put together so well that I was able to experience this, and excuse me, that I had a day or I had a few days to be able to do. Sure, I'd love to do that,
Mhm.
but that's probably the likelihood that happens is probably slim. But just to be able to have had that OG that could say, "It's all right, young fella, no problem. Okay, we hey, we can talk about this. It's all right. You're not by
Right.
yourself. You're not the only one, and I'll help you through it." That would have been amazing.
I'm just curious. What would you do if a nigga tried to hit on you?
Uh, you just kind of say thank you and move on. But the thing about it is,
Cause I feel like you would be like, nah, nigga, this ain't that.
See the thing about okay, so now it's great. Okay, great segue or great statement. You got to be mindful now because you remember
Well, yeah,
you can't act out because if you act out, you could get a situation that you really don't want. It could
yeah,
get really ugly really fast.
that's true.
You just kind of have to say, oh, thank you, or you have to politely ignore and you have to move on. But it's not a thing of like, don't push up on me. Why? Why would you get into that? There are
Yeah,
times where you got to let it go.
yeah,
That's in life. So there are times where you got to let some shit go where you got, I'm not getting into that with you. But you got to just kind of move on. Um, it has, I'll say this, I've been honked at before and I have had, um, I've had some what women might refer to as catcall because
mm,
and I'll say this because when I say that there is a transformation that happens, there's a transformation that happens. I look nothing like my male self.
mm,
Nothing. Nothing. It actually, yeah, it totally changes. And so it's kind of funny because a friend of mine that a near and dear friend of mine who was also a cross dresser and in a picture exchange said, "Okay, now send me the picture of you." And I said, "That's me." And it's like, "No, no, no, seriously, send me the picture of you." And he said, "That's me." And it was funny because he's like, "Okay, that's kind of scary because I would like I might try to holler." And I was like, and it's flattering. And he's like, "Wow." He said, "No." He said, "You're serious? This is you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says that he said you put together really well. And I was like, "Well, you observe enough and you kind of figure out what to accentuate and where to put in place and you kind of there you go.
right.
You kind of onto something."
And listen, y'all, this is probably the first guest in like, I want to say ever. I do not know what this person looks like
For now,
for now.
for
He
now,
he
for
might
now,
run up on me.
we cut a side deal. We cut a side
We
deal.
cut a side deal, but I just want to put it out there. So he might run up on me and be like, "This is
But
so and so."
right. But the side deal has been cut and will be honored.
Yes. Okay.
And so
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
the side deal's private, but the side deal will be cut
Side deal is
and it
private.
will be honored.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think this was an amazing conversation. I'm really happy that we were able to do this.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I hope that that anyone that chooses to listen, if you are a cross dresser, I hope that you realize that you're not by yourself, especially black women. I hope you realize that you're not by yourself. That there is a lot of decency in what we do, and there's nothing bad. You're not less than. You're not demented. You're not sick. It's you just being honest with yourself and saying, "Hey, so this is something that's a part of me." If you're not, if you're a young lady who has, is in a relationship with somebody you think might be,
Mm-hmm.
or could, I guess, or anybody that could possibly be in a relationship, and you ultimately find out that they are a crossdresser, I would just hope that you would have some compassion and realize that
Mm.
if you met a really
Compassion.
great guy, if you met a really great guy, and that guy stole your heart, and that guy was everything that you ever thought that you would want in a
Mm.
partner or a spouse, and he hit you with this, my request is that you remember that guy
Mm.
because that guy will be even better knowing that he can, even if it's something you say, "Hey, I don't want to see it, but I accept this about you, but I just don't want to participate. I don't want to see it." That guy will literally feel like he owes you life
Mm.
because he knows what it's like to walk around in fear. He knows what it's like to walk around in trepidation and not be able to say, "I can't be my whole self." So,
Right.
quite honestly, I think a woman that gets a crossdresser, a heterosexual crossdresser, I want to place emphasis on that. Somebody that says, "Hey, no, my sexual preference is women. I have no desire to be with anybody else but you or but a woman," gets a really great mate because suddenly you start to realize, wait a minute, we can talk about shoes, we can talk about
Mm-hmm.
dresses, we can talk about perfume. Now the request becomes, okay, now let it be full circle. So if I start talking about basketball and football, don't trip.
Right,
hey,
right.
be open to it. So it's a part, it's give and take, and I think that women who have mates that are cross dressers, you can look this up. This is written in a lot of places. They say that they realize that they have great spouses because those men are sensitive to things that women experience because they
Yeah.
have a part of them that allows them to say, you know what, I get that. That
Mhm.
makes sense to me. I understand that. There's a running joke that some women say that women will say that, hey, we run home to take off our bras and shapewear, and yet my husband finds it relaxing to run home to put his on.
Right, right, right.
So I think that that's one of the things that if a woman runs into that, you haven't, you might say, hey, that wasn't ideal. I didn't expect this. Okay, I get that. That's fair.
Mhm.
Nobody says, "Oh, I'm looking for a guy who's this, and a crossdresser." That's probably not on a lot of women's list. But if you find out that that guy is, my hope is that a woman would say, "Okay, talk to me about this, and let me get an opportunity to decide if this clicks." But not to forget, if this dude was amazing and he's like, oh, and you run to your girlfriend, oh, girl, he's this and he's that, he's
Right.
nice, and he's putting it down, and opening doors, and he's this and that. Oh, I just never met a gentleman
Cashing them
like this, and he's so
checks,
caring, and he's doing well, and he get a sister
taking
some
care of these
roses, and
kids.
take care of these kids, and he's really compassionate. He's great with kids, and he wants to have kids. And then you happen to find out that he happens to be a cross dresser. I hope, especially with the with the way things are in this day and age, as hard as it is for women, our women, to say, "Hey, we're meeting good mates." I hope that a woman will say, "You know what? This does not cancel this deal. I just
Yeah.
learned something that I need to be open to, and it's okay. It's cool, and protect his privacy." And that's what I would say.
Yes. Well, like I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. And I know I always tell my listeners that make sure you share your storyline because you never know how it can be someone else's lifeline. So I really do
Mm,
appreciate you
bars.
trusting me. Yeah, trusting me and allowing me to be a part of your journey because I know this will resonate with a lot of our listeners.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you again, and your team, and being able to get a message out about a number of topics that will really resonate with people and make their lives better.
Yes. And to the listeners, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure to email me at hello at thephgpodcast.com. And until next time, everyone, later. You gonna say bye?
Oh, bye, everybody. Take care.